Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. Welcome to Build. I am your host, Ricky Kimler. Our next guest is a national treasure, whether it's one of her first roles like the cult favorite Jawbreaker, or more recent parts like the animated Archer, the Jim Carrey starring show Kidding, or her criminally short-lived show Married on FX. Everyone loves Judy Greer. And now we get to see her behind the camera in her hilarious directorial debut, A Happening of Monumental Proportions. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Well, did you call 911?
They said since he's already dead, it's not technically an emergency. If I see that on Facebook...
Facebook? I'm on Snapchat.
What's at 1:30?
Career day.
I don't want you to be late.
Who's that?
He's the music teacher.
Is he smoking a cigarette? Should you be smoking on school grounds?
You're having an affair with your assistant.
Good morning, Daniel.
Bob called. He said wants to have lunch with me.
My husband, Bob,
Yes.
wants to have lunch with you.
Yes.
He's gluten-free.
You're fired.
What?
You're fired.
Can I borrow a pencil? Yeah, sure. You're new.
How long have you and your wife been together?
7 years.
Would you say she's your everything?
If pressed, yes.
Jesus.
I know. We found him this morning next to a big pile of manure.
This man tended to our grounds for a decade. We don't even know his name.
His name was Kevin.
Kevin. Thought it'd been something more monosyllabic.
Look, it's not important which direction you go. What's important is that you commit.
This is human resources. May not be a registered therapist, but I am a registered friend.
I have to go to my daughter's career day.
I would not mention getting fired.
Next time you move a dead body, just make sure you ask permission first.
Well, hopefully there won't be a next time.
Lady, there's always a next time.
When a man loses everything, what's he got left?
Is this a trick question or something?
And the parents are here.
I have to carry a dead body out in the middle of career day.
My dad says you should only do what you love.
What does your dad do?
He's an accountant.
And a liar. An accountant and a liar.
He's got a lottery ticket. Hey, you want a free ticket?
That is not a win.
How is that not a win?
Pessimism gives way to nihilism. Nihilism gives way to acceptance. We will all reach this day. What's up, Nathan?
I need to go to the bathroom.
Everyone, the great Judy Greer!
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, congratulations on your directorial debut. Give her a round of applause. Another one.
Thank you.
One is, it is not easy to direct a movie. Two, you did a great job. And three, you assembled this insane cast.
I know.
How?
I asked them all, and they all said yes.
But you worked with each of them separately?
No. Some of them, Common I met when I had coffee with him and begged him to do my movie. And he said yes.
I imagine he was kind of excited to do it,
obviously.
though, because he gets to play something that we've never seen him play.
Yeah, I was, trying really hard to sell myself and look like and sound like I knew what I was doing and that I could direct a film. And so when it was all over, I was like, so I just, I would love to have you play this role. It would be so meaningful for me. And he was like, I was here trying to convince you to cast me in the role. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess then you're doing my movie. And I was so excited.
Drop the facade of trying to be like in charge of everything.
I have zero facade. I have no game at all. So I'm sure I wasn't kidding him at all. But it was really sweet that both of us felt like we were working really. I just wanted him to play it from the beginning. And when I read the script, I just thought he would be amazing. And I wanted to see him play this role, more than anyone else. So.
And now, Allison Janney, had you worked with her
So
before?
Allison, yes, I did an episode of Mom, but
Right.
we there's some people that you say hi to, even not in Hollywood probably, people with regular, normal jobs probably, you see people at work and you say hi to them, but you're not friends with them. So we would say hi to each other and chit chat at events. And then I did an episode of Mom and we had the best time ever. And so
for some reason, I imagine you and Allison Janney hitting it off the. It's a weird thing with people in the public eye were like, oh, I bet those two are friends?
You just kind of think everyone is friends, but we're not because we're all busy and we don't have any time to hang out with each other. So yes, like I think we would be friends. I would consider her my friend. I mean, I could totally call her right now. I have her number, but like, no big deal. But no, I mean, I just was so.
Judy, why are you calling me?
I know. Allison, pretend like we're friends.
Movie's over. What are you calling me for?
Rob, I met on an airplane, and then I asked him to be in my movie because he was really funny. And like, how great are they together? They're really great together. I know you all haven't seen the film yet. Katie and I worked together. Nat and I worked together. Anders, actually, before he became a famous showmaker and actor, was he worked on my husband's show, Real Time with Bill Maher. So we've always known him.
Like a PA on it? Or was he a writer?
He was not a writer. I think he was a PA. I mean, it was like it was the sweetest story. I know I'm not doing an interview about him, but he was working on Real Time with Bill Maher, and then he would stay late because he was like, you know, trying to write this show, and everyone was like, oh, that's like so cute that you're working on your little show. And then it was Workaholics, and now he's like a big star and makes TV shows and movies and stuff.
Cute now.
So.
Like,
Yeah, I know, but he's such a great person. He would never say that. Storm auditioned. She is the best. And Bradley, I just wanted someone that was really scary to play that role, and he's someone that's always kind of terrified me. I didn't know him. I mean, he has such a strong presence, and he's such a good actor, and I wanted...
Exudes confidence.
Yes, he exudes confidence, and I also wanted someone that I knew was going to be funny, but that wasn't going to play the comedy, because you have to be a little scared of this guy that he plays in order for the whole movie to work. And so he was someone that I knew would make it funny because he's so funny, but also is going to be confident and kind of scary.
Now, I feel like assembling a huge cast like this, you set out a big challenge for yourself, which is getting everybody's schedules right.
That wasn't my problem.
You didn't have to think about that?
I didn't. Someone had a lot of headaches about it. Yeah, there was a lot of scheduling, and because also we have children to deal with, so there's certain hours, and then we were shooting in a school, so we had to make sure that we were shooting when school wasn't in session, and there was a lot of that. There was a spring break where we were at the high school, which we turned into an elementary school, junior high, but so we were shooting over spring break. In the middle of shooting, I think Allison got this she was doing some press for moms. We were rearranging that. Plus then, you know, when Katie said she would do it, it's like, it was crazy to work around these schedules. But I have the greatest first AD in the world, Doug Turner. And so he made it all happen. And I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, oh,
they're here.
Everything just worked out, right? Like,
so
oh, no.
How long had you been wanting to direct?
I guess I don't have an answer. I'd been reading scripts for a really long time. And
to direct, or
yes.
just because that's your job as an actor?
Both. Okay. I've been reading scripts as an actor for a really long time, and then my manager, who was also a producer on this movie, had been sending me scripts to read with an eye toward directing them. And so I've been kind of reading scripts for a few years. But, you know, for me to direct a movie, it means I have to stop doing my day job for a little while, which is acting, in case you don't know. And so, you know, it's a big commitment, and I just had to find like the perfect script and the one that I would read, and I couldn't get out of my head. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and that's kind of what happened when I read this. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and so.
What was your biggest fear about directing?
That I would cry on set. Which is all I do as an actor, it turns out, is cry on set. I was so afraid of not knowing the answer to something, and what I learned very quickly is I didn't know the answer to anything, but I sat next to Adam McKay at like a dinner party, like a tastemaker dinner for Lily Tomlin when we shot Grandma. And I was like, hey, I'm Judy Greer. It's nice to meet you. A, can I do a movie of yours someday? And B, I'm about to direct a movie. Do you have any advice? And he said, get a very comfortable pair of tennis shoes because you'll be on your feet all the time. And I was like, no, I'll be behind the monitor. What does he know? And then all I was doing was on my feet running around. So he was right about that. And he said, also, like, say yes to everything because you can usually change your yes to a no, but it's harder to change a no to a yes. So
that is an incredible piece of advice.
He told me that. I wrote it down, I think, on a napkin because I didn't want to forget it. And there was champagne at the dinner, so So I thought that's really good advice. And it's kind of, I mean, well, okay, I was going to say maybe not in a dating situation, but I think it's pretty good advice in general because it's easier to take away something than it is to add back on. But my biggest fears is, that I wouldn't know what I was talking about. And what I forgot was that I hired amazing people to surround me who did know. I don't know how to run a camera, but I don't have to. I just have to know how to tell a story and how to talk to my actors about the story I'd like to tell. And so that part, I was like, okay, I can do that part. I don't have to pick a lens. I just have to say, I really just want to see her whole face. And they'd be like, okay, great.
You got a lens for that.
We got a lens for that.
Yeah, I heard like a veteran director gave a first-time director advice one time, which was make sure that you enjoy it, because on my first film, I was so stressed out that I just didn't enjoy the process at all. Yeah. Were you able to enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I had the best time of my life. I mean, I had the best time. I've never laughed so hard. I've never had so much fun on a set. I knew I would like that because my favorite part about acting is really being on set. I love the crew. I love casts that I've worked with. I love just being on set. And because I usually play more supporting roles, I'm not on set that often. I don't really get to meet all the actors I work with. I mean, I was in a movie with Meryl Streep and I never met her. That happens. But as a director, you get
to meet her at the premiere or anything?
I met her backstage at the SAG Awards one year because I basically tackled her and was like, can I just say hi to you? And she's like, of course. I know, she's so cool. She could have kicked me right in the face and I would have been like, that was so awesome. Luckily, she did not have a security guard by her, so I was able to introduce myself. But
Marilyn kicked me.
Oh my God, yeah, Meryl Streep kicked me in the face. So as a director, obviously, I'm on set with everyone all the time, all day long, and I got to hang out with all the actors, and I just had the best time. Now, I was making a comedy. I'm sure it can be different when you're making a drama, but a scary movie seems like it'd be fun to direct, but this was really fun, and I loved it.
I don't know. I imagine, not that I would know that, but I imagine a comedy is harder to direct than a drama in a lot of ways. As much as it's more fun on set, there's...
Not when you have these people.
Fair. There's so much more pacing and timing that you really have to worry about, and drama is a bit more instinctual, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I find comedy to be easier personally to play, so I guess that's why I was less afraid of directing it.
You do not enjoy playing drama?
No, I like it, but I don't know. I just prefer. I like it when people are laughing. Yeah. I like laughing myself, and I like making people laugh. It's my favorite thing. I mean, it is nice when sometimes you can make someone feel something profound, or you remind them of a feeling that they were forgetting that they had. But I love making people laugh, and I like being on set and laughing and even when I'm doing dramatic roles or I'm in dramatic films or television shows, like, you would be surprised at how much laughing still goes on. Like
in between scenes.
Yes, like you're crying and they'll be like, cut, and I'll be like, is there snot running out of my nose right now?
You said that you would want to direct a horror movie. You didn't direct this horror movie, but you're in a pretty big horror movie coming out. You like that? That was pretty good. You set it up, I knock it down. We have the trailer that we're going to play for Halloween that you are in. Let's take a look at that trailer, and then let's talk about your work in it. Do a round of applause. You have a, no spoilers, but you have a get on your feet, rise, crowd cheering moment in this movie that people are going to freak out about. It's so great.
Thanks. I'm still so scared by the trailer.
Are you scared of scary movies?
I'm so scared. I am the most perfect audience. I scream, I cheer, I laugh, I throw food and beverages, I grab strangers in the audience.
Now the big thing with this Halloween is one that you have Jamie Lee Curtis back in it.
I'm like scanning to see if he's here. Like I keep expecting the mask to appear everywhere I go when I talk about this movie, because that's a really fun trick that they play on us a lot.
Yeah, I saw at the Toronto Film Festival, there were like a ton of people with the masks on.
Yeah. Okay, so you were going to ask me a question about Jamie Lee Curtis. She's the greatest.
Great. But I was going to say the difference with this is you also have director David Gordon Green on this, who we mostly know from comedies and sort of beautiful ambient dramas at times. And you have Danny McBride writing it as well, who's a creative partner of his to do Eastbound and Vice Principals together.
Yeah.
What did you think when this got brought to you by them?
I kept having to read. I got an email, and I kept having to read it. And then like, wait a minute. David Gordon Green and Halloween? Like, is there a different David Gordon Green? Like, is there more than one? Because it didn't make sense, because I was such a huge fan of his from Eastbound and Down. And then, I mean, I love A Pineapple Express and Your Highness. Like, but I didn't compute. And then I also was thinking, I didn't know them at the time. I mean, I was a huge fan, but I was like, I hope Jamie's not just like a cameo. You know what I mean? Like, I hope that she's not just like the crazy lady in town who works at the coffee shop or something. And now that I know all of them, I know that would never be the case. And that David was so careful about maintaining the franchise and the history, and Jamie has such ownership over it, like in every way, but like she just cared so much. And I just think now thinking that could even be, that she would be even just a cameo is like ridiculous. And so when I found out she was the star of it, then I knew I just had to do it. I mean, how could you not? And that song, holy buckets, I even have to make that my ringtone. I was like, it gives me the chills.
Oh, one of the things about David Gordon Green's work that I've always loved is that you get the sense that actors get to play a lot.
Yes.
And that in comedy that works. And I wasn't expecting to get to see that in this movie, but when I watched it, it did look like there was a bit of free reign for the actors to kind of play in certain scenes. Maybe not in some of the bigger sort of scenes where you're yelling and you're reacting, but in some of the dialogue scenes between each other, between you and Toby Huss and your daughter as well.
I mean, a lot of playing also happens like while the camera's rolling and he is screaming like, try this, do this, say this. So there's a lot of stuff that's like we're all playing together. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna try this in like this line, because we all kind of are in it together. And making a movie with those guys is very much, Danny said this at a Q&A at TIFF. Danny McBride said like, a lot of times he'd be like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And so that's a lot of what goes on set with them, is like, dude, wouldn't it be cool if like you ... like, do you think it'd be cool? I think it'd be cool. And it's all like that. So you have this idea of what you have the dialogue on the page, you know what you're shooting that day, but then you get there and you're looking and you see the sky and there's like the stair is kind of weird, and you're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like that stair, and like instead like I walk over that, but then that's the play. And it's like there's just always,
you're a part of that as well. It's like,
all,
wouldn't it be cool? And you're like, yeah, but what if I also did this, and wouldn't that be also like,
yeah, like we're all just like, yeah, that would be so cool. And then you do it and you're like, that was not cool. That was not cool, and we're not doing that again. But it might be cool if instead, that was
that's fun.
It was so fun.
Yeah. Would you work like that? Do you think you would work like that in your next project?
Yeah. I was not, I mean, those guys have they have a special language. They speak with each other, and I think that is how I felt like I directed, with like half as much confidence. Like it did feel like a lot of it I would watch what they were doing, like Allison Janney and Rob Riggle in my movie, to be specific, watch something that they were doing and be like, oh yeah, that's so cool. Okay, now, so do that, but then like do this or say this line, or like don't look at him when you say it this time, because that was great. And I just want it, like, so it does, you get inspired by what you're watching. And I felt inspired by David and Danny and Jamie, and then hopefully we were inspiring them too.
Is this forgive me for not knowing, is this your first horror movie?
I don't forgive you for not knowing about Cursed. How dare you? How dare you?
Oh, make it worse and go, what was Cursed?
I'll wait. Cursed.
IMDb here.
Cursed was a Wes Craven movie I did 100 years ago today. It was a Wes Craven movie. Kevin Williamson wrote the script. Rick Baker was meant to do the makeup, although it kind of...
late Wes Craven? Like late Wes Craven? Like one of his last?
Yeah.
Was it also called like Soul something?
No,
or was that a different
I don't
one?
know. It might have been.
Stupid.
It had a lot of titles. It had a lot of
Teenagers?
scripts. Oh. It's
Kevin
a
Williamson.
horror film. It's Kevin Williamson. What other person is dumb enough to like walk towards the scary thing? A teenager. It's got to be a teenager, right?
Kevin Williams, so they're very verbose while walking towards the scary thing.
They are. They're so emo. Yeah, it was really fun. That was my first horror film, and I was so excited to work with Wes Craven and on a Kevin Williamson script. And the movie, let's say, underperformed, but it's good. I mean, I've seen it. It's great, and people do like it, and people who love the genre do like it. I got to play a werewolfess, so there's that. I don't feel like, I mean, I am spoiling it, but are you guys gonna watch it ever? Because maybe. It's really a fun ride. It's no Halloween, though.
Fair.
Thank
fair.
you.
That's generous, I think, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Especially since you've never even heard of it, I think it's safe to say.
I honestly think I have friends that worked on it, to be honest.
Me too. But I made them doing it.
Let's get a question from the audience.
You also forgot the remake of Carrie for another horror.
Yes, I was in that. I guess that is considered horror. I just always think of it as psychological horror.
Is that the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I do think of that is a horror film. I just always think of the difference between like blood and guts and like psychological, like spiritual horror.
Was that
which is
Kim?
sometimes politics. Just kidding.
The director was Kim.
Kim? Yeah.
Kim, what's her last? Excuse
Yeah,
me?
Kim.
Her last.
It was.
She did Boys Don't
Kim.
Cry.
Yeah. So that's
Kim.
why we know her
You
name.
don't remember her
Yes,
last
I
name?
do. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about how
did you have a
important
question?
these horror films are?
Yeah, it's a good segue. You've done at least I think it is. You've done a lot of different genres. Which is your favorite to do?
My favorite this is the cheesiest answer, but I swear it's real. My favorite is the people. So genre means nothing to me if I'm working with someone interesting. And someone I've always wanted to work with was David Gordon Green. So it was so bizarre. I was like, what am I doing working with David Gordon Green on a horror movie? Like, what? But I'll take it because I wanted to work with him so badly. And so when I think of projects and people, it's really that more than like the genre. Like although I would like to do some kind of crazy action movie because that's one thing I haven't done yet. But like, who knows? Maybe Kim will direct that and then I can...
Name not Kim?
It was Kim. It still is.
Her last name though?
Totally know her last name. I'm not telling you. Next question.
What do we got right here?
Come on. Someone else. Oh, okay.
Right. I saw you jumping through the trailer, so I can't wait to watch Halloween because it seems really scary.
Yeah, I know. It's so scary. I've seen it once and I'm like...
So the question I have, leading up to your directorial debut, did you kind of shadow any directors on TV sets or films just to get an idea of what was entailed? And also, with Halloween, I know the writers sat with John Carpenter to get his fingers up. Thumbs up. So did you get a chance to meet John Carpenter? And if so, what was it like?
Okay, so I did not shadow directors to learn how to direct. I did take as many of them out to lunch as I could and ask for advice. And I kind of considered like all the sets I'd been on a little bit like shadowing, although I quickly realized that it's very different. I would say and you didn't ask this question, but if I was giving advice to a first-time director or a new director, I would say your time is better spent in the editing room, shadowing an editor, because what you really... The mistake or the times that you're wanting to punch yourself is when you realize like you didn't get something that you needed in the editing room. And so I feel like that would have been huge, is to sit in an editing room with an editor and see what's missing from someone else's show and like what the other director, didn't get or got, or you're like, wow, I wouldn't have thought to get that, because there's some technical things that you just don't know until you sit down to edit a movie. And as far as...
It's a weird thing on set, right? When you're like, no, I got it. Like, that was how I envisioned shooting this, and I got the shots. And then you get to an editing room, and you're like, my vision was way off, and like I needed a
Yeah.
lot more coverage
Or,
of this, and
yes,
like just
coverage.
B-roll and weird things to be able
Right.
to cut to. Yeah.
And coverage is you guys know it's like just the shot of just my face talking. So that if the shot of the two of us talking doesn't work or we mess up, you can just cut to my face saying what I'm saying and then cut back to the two of us. Sometimes you get all the things that you think that you need, but you have no shot that gets you into the scene or no shot that gets you out of the scene, and that's a thing.
It helps you trim the dialogue.
Right, like how you know, another like weird little technical things that I never learned. Like when you're watching a movie now and you see if it's an over the shoulder, you'll notice oftentimes you don't see the mouth moving because like you need to make sure you don't have their mouth moving so that you can use this shot of him over my shoulder. It's all these weird little things, but that's why being in the editing room, I'd say would be like super helpful. And then you asked me a second question, which was, I did not meet John Carpenter yet, although he was on set and we did almost overlap, but not totally. And I got there on a day where they were like, "Did you meet John?" And I was like, "No, is he here?" And they were like, "He just left." And I was like, "Oh God." I think I'd be as afraid to meet him as I was to meet Michael Myers. Like, I mean, he is the king of Michael Myers. Like, he made him, and but what was great was, and again, having Jamie's blessing and Jamie be a star of this movie is having his blessing and having him be a part of it. And one thing that kills in the movie, pun intended,
stabbings.
is the stabbings. The score that John Carpenter did is like, what is even happening? It's really scary, and it really makes the movie a thousand
Him
times
and a
better.
couple other people, and it's the original score with some other new stuff layered on. And there's that scene where the girl who plays your daughter is running down
Andy
the
Matichak,
street,
yes, I know.
and the score is so incredible that like thumps. Yeah.
It's so good. And it's him. He did it. Again.
Yeah, he's an incredible musician. You can go and listen to all of his scores. He's got albums. He plays live. And his scores all around are really great minimal synth stuff. They're really cool. Next question.
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
Good to see you. In the future, if you have a fork in the road, if you have a new acting role you really want to do, and since you love directing your first film, and you had a directing project, which would you think you would choose?
Gosh, that's a really good question.
It's hypothetical, but I mean,
it is
what's your
hypothetical.
gut say?
I mean, my gut would probably be that I would want to try to direct the movie, if all things were equal, and I could, and I had the cast put together the way I liked it, and the script was amazing. But that would be the same thing for the acting role, so it would be a tough choice. But I probably would want to direct again. I mean, I definitely want to direct again, but in that scenario,
Bitten by the bug.
I got bit, and yeah. Thanks.
How was Doing Kidding with Jim and with Michel Gondry?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was a very cool. I mean, Michel's so cool, and he's so French, and it took me a while to figure out what he was saying because his accent is so thick.
He speaks kind of quietly too, doesn't he?
He does, but I feel like that a lot of directors do. I'm used to that with directors specifically because a lot of times if you're doing something emotional, like they do kind of want to get in and there is a weird thing sometimes where a director will want to give you a piece of direction, but they don't necessarily need every single person on set to hear what it is, you know? Especially if it's like, hey, can you like do that that thing you were doing?
Like in front of the whole crew?
Most of the time they're pretty respectful, and but
hey, do that better.
Yeah, just anything different would be great. But I mean,
giving me an option I can use. Thanks.
I do. I would love to hear that sometime. That would be so funny. I did feel like I was kind of in a cool kids club when I was working on that show, just because, like, I mean, Michel Gondry is so cool, and like, I've been a fan of his for a really long time, and then Jim is, I think, so special, and I don't know. I was like, we were just in this great bubble. Showtime lets you just be so creative, and I don't know behind the scenes, but from my experience of working with them, they were super hands-off and let us kind of do what we wanted to do, and I don't know, it just felt really fun. I felt lucky, and that's I had to audition for that, and I got cast in it. It was something I fought for and wanted to be a part of.
Is that not something that you do that much anymore, audition?
I like to mention that just because I think that a lot of times people think that like all of us actors just get like offered these amazing roles and then we just sit there and decide what we want to do and what we don't. And that is like totally, at least for me, not the case. And some things, some things I do
Case
get
for
offered.
5 actors. Like there's 5 actors that it's not the case
I know,
for.
and one of them is a woman. But you want to talk about that?
I should have laughed, but that's very
nobody
true.
wants. I know, but
Meryl Streep.
Meryl's, and it's her. But this I like to mention just because it is like that is a real thing. We read things. We get told about projects. I write letters to directors. I audition for this role. I reach out so often to try any way I can to get an opportunity that I feel like I'm right for.
Who's a director that you've written a letter to?
I wrote a letter to Richard Linklater recently.
Or Where'd You Go, Bernadette?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see that.
Me too.
Have you not seen a cut or anything?
No.
Was it working with Richard Linklater?
It was awesome. It was awesome. I was like, oh my God, I'm working with Richard Linklater. He's a hero. I'm working with Cate Blanchett. She's a hero. And then the person that like blew me away was Billy Crudup. Like he is, and I've always been a huge fan of his, but just like everything about him, he's so smart and interesting and funny, and he's such a good actor. And I think people love him, but like I just want to make sure everyone like loves him.
I don't think people know. I mean, I think he's a criminally underrated actor, which is crazy because he's well known and
I know.
people know, but like I've seen him do things like he had a one-man show in the city last year, and it was mind-blowing what he did in that show.
I mean, I don't love using the word underrated either because I feel like sometimes people say that about me, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that's a compliment. But in this case, like
he's working. So
everyone's
it's like,
yes, he works, he's fine. It's not like, oh, wouldn't it be great if he got a shot? Because like clearly he is living up to it, but like he is so good. And I think he's like one of those people that's so good that you forget how good he is because you don't ever see him acting.
No, that's true, and he makes really interesting decisions that, that's a great point. I love Billy Crudup. Yeah.
Yeah, so while Cate and Richard were awesome, I was like, dang, Billy is awesome. Like, he's so great. And I did write a letter to Richard Linklater, and I was like one of my favorite books. I couldn't put it down, and I don't know like who's doing what, but if there's any old little thing in there, I'd love to work with you, and I'd love to be a part of this project. And he wrote back like, sounds great. And I was like, wait, why have I waited 20 years to be doing this? Writing letters to directors and
Is that one of the first letters that you wrote?
I've written letters in the past. I mean, I think, I've written letters in the past, but this one was just such a funny response. Like, sounds great. And I remember thinking, what does this mean? Like, it does sound great that I want to work with you, or does it mean sounds great I can do it?
No, non-committal.
I know. I was like, what? Huh? Anyway, so that was cool, and it worked. And now I just write letters. I mean, I'll probably write a couple tonight. Just kidding. Not really.
That is such a director's response, right? Sounds great, because he's not saying yes or no, but he's saying something kind of positive.
I'm stealing that, yeah.
Yeah. Sounds great, thanks.
Sounds great.
So, does she like me? I don't know.
I know. It's a great response to pretty much anything. So the takeaways from this interview are just say yes, because you can probably change it to a no, or just say sounds great.
Judy Greer, A Happening of Monumental Proportions comes out next week, right?
Movie. Yes,
comes out
the
next
21st.
Week. The 21st.
Thank you.
And people can see Halloween next month.
Yeah, that's a Christmas time. That'll be out at Christmas.
Judy
Thank
Greer,
you
everybody.
for laughing
Judy Greer.
at my joke.
Judy Greer. Did you see that it actually took me a minute?